January 1st, 2022. I'm 93 kilos, can barely finish a 5k race, and probably the unfittest I've ever been before in my life. Fast forward to now, I'm 76 kilos, just finished the Amsterdam Marathon in 3 hours and 12 minutes, and probably feeling the fittest I've ever felt before. So what's the difference? In this video I'm going to run through my best practices for not just losing weight, but keeping weight off. And I'm not going to talk about what we need to do, because you already know that. You know you need to go to the gym, you know you need to eat healthy. But how do we do it? And that's what I'm going to focus on in this video. And I'm not going to point you towards fad diets, magic weight loss pills, or spending hours in the gym, because that's just rubbish and not sustainable. Instead, I'm going to focus on 6 key factors which has helped me transform both mentally and physically. And they are building good habits, being consistent, being adaptable, tracking and measuring, building a solid mindset, and surrounding ourselves with good people. And in the next series of videos, I'm going to delve into these in a bit more detail and go one by one into how they have helped me and how you could use them in your daily life. So in this video, we're going to talk about good habits specifically. Good habits have been the cornerstone of my transformation over the past 2 years. And I'm a firm believer of the saying that we first make our habits and then they make us. But how do we build good habits? Well, there's a few steps. There's being aware of our bad habits, making it as simple as possible to pick up good habits and as hard as possible to retain bad habits, and also then to make them enjoyable. And I'm going to touch on these in a bit more detail. So let's start with being aware of our bad habits. And we all have bad habits, whether that be snacking, scrolling on Instagram, and the list goes on. But when we track our bad habits, when we track when we do them, why we do them, i.e. the triggers and how we feel when we do these as well. And when we do this, it makes it much easier to realise why we're doing this habit, maybe change that then into a good habit, or just stop the habit altogether. And one way we can do this is just journal our bad habits. So first step is taking track of all our bad habits, whether that be scrolling too much on Instagram, snacking, or wherever it may be. Then the next step is journal kind of what leads us to that. And I'll break down this in an example now in a sec. And then the third element is writing down how we feel when we perform this particular habit and how we feel afterward. So one personal example of this is when I had a bad habit of snacking while working. I used to always go down kind of midway through the afternoon, go get a bar, get a packet of crisps. So when I started to kind of journal this bad habit and why I done it in the first place, I started to realise that anytime I was overthinking in work, I always got the urge to go down and get a snack. And that was my trigger for that bad habit. And when I became aware of this habit, I was able to reverse the behaviour, and I was able to change the behaviour of going for a snack in order to go for a quick walk to clear the mind, or going for a sip of water. So if you have any bad habits that you want to get rid of, start journaling down the triggers that are leading to them, and try reverse the behaviour. So the next tip I want to focus on is making it easy to adopt new habits and making it hard to perform bad habits. So to make habits stick, we need to make them as easy as possible to perform and remove any friction or barriers to the process of performing them. And on the flip side, to get rid of a bad habit, we have to make them as difficult as possible to perform, and then put in barriers to stop us performing them habits in the first place. And an example of this is that I wanted to build a habit of starting to run in the morning. So what I done was try to make it as easy as possible to get out of bed and get running. The way I done this was set up out the clothes the night before, have everything ready like my gloves, my earphones and runners then good to go, so there's as little friction as possible the morning of the run, so we can just get out of bed and get out and not have any blockers or then any excuses to stop me running. And one example of a bad habit that I wanted to get rid of was being on my phone. The way I done this was just leave my phone upstairs. So instead of going to the pocket or just going to get the phone beside me, I'd have to go upstairs and get it, which puts friction in the process and makes it harder to do. So how can you put this in process? First things first, think about the habits that you want to perform. And think about all the steps that you need to do to perform them habits. And then from that, think about the steps that you can remove or streamline. For example, if you want to start eating healthy, how can you make that as easy as possible? Can you pre-chop your vegetables so they're ready to go? Can you have your meat seasoned and you don't have to worry about that when you come in after a hard day's work? And when you look at habits in this systematic way and look at ways you can remove the friction, you'll be surprised at how easy you can make these habits stick. So let's move on to our next and final tip, and that is making habits enjoyable. This is super important. The reason being is that when we enjoy doing something, it's a lot easier to keep doing that. And there's two ways we can do this. The first is do habits that we enjoy, which sounds really simple, but a lot of people don't do this. And then the second is make our habits enjoyable by pairing them with something that we love. So the reason we pick up good habits 99% of the time is because they lead to an outcome that we desire. So frankly, there's no point in picking up a good habit to get to the outcome that we desire that we don't enjoy. For example, if your goal is weight loss and you hate running and hate going to the gym, you're not going to stick to the habit. It's not going to be sustainable. So do something you enjoy, whether that be football, some sort of sport, or whatever. And when you do this, it's still going to lead to the same outcome as if you were going to go running or if you were going to go to the gym. But it's going to be a lot more sustainable because you enjoy the habit that you do. How do we make habits enjoyable? Well, the simple way is to pair it with something that we like doing. For example, one of the habits I want to build is to get more consistent with cooking healthy meals. So how do I do that? How do I make that fun and enjoyable? Well, one thing I love to do when I'm cooking is listen to music. So anytime I make a healthy meal, or try to at least without burning the house down, I have some music on because I actually enjoy that process. And by pairing the habit of trying to cook good meals on a consistent basis with listening to music, which I enjoy, it makes picking up that habit a lot easier to do and a lot more sustainable. So my goal for you essentially is think about a habit that you want to do and think about how you can pair it with something that you like and see if you can do that to make it stick and sustainable. So that's my 3 tips on how to build good sustainable habits. And just to recap, it's really being aware of our bad habits. It's making it as easy as possible to pick up our good habits and hard as possible to keep performing our bad habits, and then making our habits enjoyable. So I hope you enjoyed this video of this 6-part series where I'm going to talk about all the key factors which has helped me lose over 20 kilos. If you did like it, please like and subscribe even. If you didn't, please give me feedback. Give me some comments, give me some likes, give me some engagement. I want to know if this was useful or not. And I'll see you on the next one where we're going to talk about consistency.